Today, we'll be talking to Katharina, a recent graduate of the 12-week Breakthrough Coaching Program, and finding out where she is today after learning how you can live above the veil of consciousness despite a painful past.
And yeah, this program, Lisa, you are a human angel.
Oh,
You're setting this program up. It comes from your inner side, from the inside. You lived and worked through this. And every program, every year gets better. And it's saving one life at a time. And it's part of the awakening that's happening outside in the world.
I really
I think
appreciate that.
this is fantastic, and a lot more people should know about it.
Well, I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for participating in the 12-week class. You did great. The moderators and I were so encouraged by your progress. We loved the way you interacted with the group. We loved your questions. And so we wanted to invite you to do a video with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I have
Yeah.
some butterflies.
Oh, well, I hope you feel okay now, but really we
Yeah.
stuck with it. We didn't give up and we're here, so I'm so grateful. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the 12-week class. What resonated with you?
So I realized that I was dealing with actually narcissistic abuse. In 2020, I started to look into this subject, read up. I found your books. I read some other books. Also, in 2019, at the end, I was diagnosed by a doctor, an osteopathic doctor, that I have some issues with my limbic system,
Mm-hmm.
which she talked extensively about the
Mm-hmm.
hippocampus and the amygdala. And by nature, my family is stressed out. And I have the vagus nerve that was totally stressed. I have issues, health issues. I'm getting over it. So was finding all these, was telling me some other acupuncturists that I have trauma-related issues for semi-chronic diseases, trying to fight them naturally. I looked and read into this subject. My first family lives over in Europe, so going, no contact, what a
Mm.
lot of people recommend for narcissists, was fairly easy. Also, but the thing is, I married a narcissist. So I ran from my mom, and I married a narcissistic husband, and we had our share issues. And this next to the narcissism, it was dysfunctional. We still got compared, me and my sisters. We got belittled. We were told we never amount to anything unless we showed good grades in school. All the
Yeah.
common brainwashing. 2022 in the fall, jump in. I read two of your books. I have the affirmation books. I'm reading now the quantum
Mm-hmm.
book.
Tools. Yep.
I'm halfway through, and so I decided, okay, and I'm sometimes deciding things like this spontaneously, but I have to wait. All right, yeah, I told that my friends I'm gonna take this class then in June, so I had to wait, but
Right.
this decision, oh, it's like, okay, I just do it.
Wow.
It's on my past. It's wherever my past and what I learned since the end of 2019, and then really started to dive into the subject of and then came along words like codependency, childhood trauma, and I discovered also Inside Timer was my whole companion since late 2019.
A lot of people I find when they discover literature or information about childhood trauma or a narcissistic mother or a toxic family or the scapegoat child or gaslighting. And wait a minute, I married my mother. When they discover the why, they sometimes think that, well, I should be cured. And that now that I know what was wrong and I know why I married this person, I have found that people struggle with this idea that, well, there should be some switch that goes on, that I am healed. But it sounds like what happened to you is sort of like what happened to me, where there was this gentle stirring, there was this gentle awakening, and there was this divine intuition to investigate this. And now, okay, now you're ready to investigate that. And let's just check this out and check this out until you're brought to whatever course or whatever teacher or whatever resonates with you at a particular time in your life that really is in resonance with what you're ready to receive. Would you say that that's been your experience?
Yeah, yes. I think my soul path was exactly carved out, and I just follow it. I sometimes was going even before I was living with all this in this miserable or survival state before I was introduced and taken this 12-week breakthrough coaching class. I had sometimes was living in with the flow.
Yes.
Things were happening, but then there were a lot of struggles.
Yep.
And so yeah, it was. And I've been also watching your YouTube videos, other people's, with my husband, I cannot go no contact. However, I can just stop reacting.
Correct.
And with being the narcissistic.
Yeah, because it is, well, once we understand the dynamic, we're from an objective viewpoint, right? Which is what I think the 12-week breakthrough coaching program offers people. It's an opportunity to become objective about your behavior, about your thoughts, and about your emotions. So from a higher state of consciousness, you can navigate them in a way that empowers you versus disempowers you. And you can navigate in a way that allows you to, at least on some level, recognize your co-creative experience. In other words, like, how am I engaging in a co-creative experience that is so painful? Well, if I don't know that my reaction is what a narcissist, let's say, thrives off of, then I don't know that I'm in control of that, or I can at least maintain some level of distance mentally and emotionally, physically, even verbally, between me and someone who's highly narcissistic, that allows me to stay in control of my energy. And thus I can stay in the flow more often.
Exactly. Yes.
But when we are all emotional, and like you're speaking, like our limbic system is highly activated and it is in control of our consciousness. And we don't even know that there are varying levels of consciousness. Then we are by default living below the level of consciousness and don't even know it.
No, I did not. I mean, I've known about, the unconscious levels, that the consciousness and everything, but that was really great explained in the class.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it? I'll get to the specific questions we have outlined, but so actually let's start with them. So you decided, it sounds like you decided to take the program because, hold on, of course I drop it, but it sounds like you decided to take the program because of a natural progression of you awakening to the toxic dynamics between you and your mother, how you felt crappy when you were around her and you felt minimized or marginalized, and you began that recognition, or that realization allowed you to look a little bit deeper and further, almost like pulling the veil back and seeing what your relationship with your mother may have always been like, which also now it's like an onion. We peel back that veil and that layer, and now we see another layer, and then another layer, and another layer. And soon, all of a sudden, it's like, wow, I'm really beginning to articulate and understand why I lived through my amygdala, why I lived through the hippocampus, why I have CPTSD, why I resonate with the energy of this home and thus vibrate outside of consciousness with this particular frequency, and then attract it and actually feel attracted to this type of an energy. Right. Now I'm understanding it. So it sounds like before you took the class, all of these pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place for you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I was living in fear. I was afraid of her. There were episodes I was afraid of my husband. in
Wow.
my past. I would come from the US and visit her. I was afraid she would do this and that again. She has issues, and you know, she's almost borderline maniac. She was not taking medication. She has. It was always her way, not the highway. My dad suffered under this. The whole family in reality, you know, it almost, you're talking exactly
Uh,
what happened in my household. And it's terrible. And she's still setting up the youngest sister is the baby and the favorite. And me and the middle sister are nobody, or, you know,
mhm.
and because we have lived our lives and then we come home, it's hard to adjust, but then it's hard to adjust because she's starting from a point of view where, you know, where we were little or
Yes.
fully grown, but not where I'm 60 now. And if I would come home when I was 30, you know, she's thinking I'm still that. And sometimes she's thinking I'm still that even 4, 5, 6 year old.
Yeah, because they don't change.
And yes, and I don't want to be the fooder and for her the narcissist and to have more narcissistic abuse. I want to live my life and create my life. I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to live, you know, just barely surviving. And this was actually driving me nuts. You know, the Olympic system, all this stuff, the stress, my nervous system. Yes, I
Yeah,
had
it's
issues. I'm still working on them, but I'm much better.
that's awesome. And it's so sad to me. It's I see it everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
once you see it, once you awaken and the hood is revealed, like right, you peel the hood back of your own life and you understand why I'm so nervous, why I have anxious thoughts, why I'm afraid to go home, why I feel like a little girl around this woman. It's like, wow, this all makes sense. I call it the spiritual circumcision. Right. So like, right. It's like when a little boy is circumcised, this tool of creation is revealed. Right. So it's sort of like we understand the creation that we have been, like how this woman or this man, our parents, the authorities in our lives have have they don't even understand the power that they have or the consequences of the way they relate to us or one another or to themselves, how it creates our inner reality, our
Oh,
perception.
absolutely. That's a big one.
Yeah, and neurologically, and it's like I use the word creation because it's real. Like this experience creates neurology, and my neurology is my psychology, right?
Exactly.
Because if I'm stuck in the limbic system, if I'm stuck in rumination, if I'm stuck in emotional flashbacks, that's neurology.
Oh yes, yes, yes. There was big amounts of rumination going on. I felt I was stuck before this class. I literally
Because
was.
we are.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Neurologically, we are. And psychologically and emotionally, we are. We're stuck in the past. We
Oh
are
yes, yes. I wanted to break out of this, and that's the very great name for this breakthrough coaching program. And I was stuck. I was like, what's the matter with me?
correct. And it's not you, it's just your programming, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Right. And so that's why I like to do these interviews because, you know, I understand like some people, they email in me and they're like, well, what is your class really all about? And I'm like, it's really, I know I talk a lot about narcissism. I talk a lot about adult children of alcoholics, a lot about narcissistic moms and codependency, a lot of the subconscious mind because it all fits. There's no such thing as separation. If you have a narcissistic mom or an alcoholic dad, it's going to affect you neurologically and at the subconscious level. How it manifests in the 3D is we could have codependent relationships with our mothers, with our siblings, where we have this loss of selfhood where we lose the self and we're completely focused on what does she need? How does she feel? What does she think about me? How can I soothe her so she doesn't think that way or doesn't react that way? And in that whole process, we're on this neurological roller coaster and we can't get off. But we don't know that we're on a roller coaster and we don't know that we're living out childhood programming. So we are stuck. And the thing that I really hope people understand, and I hope that my work contributes to, is that neurons that fire together wire together. So that means that the more I reinforce this process of thought and I don't break through it, the more I reinforce these thoughts, the longer I stay stuck. So I can live effectively 90 years or 100 years and never live. I can remain on the roller coaster of my childhood, one divorce, the second divorce, the third. I'm not coaching. I'm not kidding. I coach women who have and men married 3, 4, 5 times. And they move to different countries, different states, different zip codes. Lisa, why do I keep attracting the same person? This is why. This conversation is why.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
so
we're not breaking out. We're not peeling the onion back. We're not uncovering these layers and covering the layers in our consciousness. And
and the other thing I want to add to that is that the way the brain works, the reward system in the brain, it rewards dysfunctional behavior. In other words, like I can associate dopamine with pleasing my mother. Now and associate pleasure with pleasing my mother because I've been conditioned with fear to displease her. So now even if I peel back the onion, I peel back the veil, I'm left with this agitation when presented with the concept of breaking through that and confronting my mother. You bet you're going to have anxiety. You're going to be anxious. Your brain is about to break through and do something it's never done before. So healing is counterintuitive. And that's why I break the class down into these bite-sized lessons, because I know that just having a conversation about, well, this is what went wrong, could be, what do you mean I have to confront my mother? What do you mean? What do you mean I have to confront my sister? What do you mean? So I understand that. And so I present the class in 12 lessons over 3 months.
Right.
And offer meditations to assist in that process. Most of them most of them are recorded at the theta brainwave level, because in my opinion, we were wounded at the theta level.
Oh, absolutely. Those meditations, I got so much out of them. That's what I did diligently throughout the whole 12 weeks. And most of the homework, I think maybe there's one assignment like the vision board, but I announced that in the Facebook group that I already booked my next trip, and I'm so happy about that. And I had planned that, but I didn't know exactly when I was going to book it, but it just happened then. And I'm using frequent flyer points. I'm happy about it. The price is right. Everything. I'm excited. It's
awesome.
Some spontaneous things need to happen instead of walking on eggshells around these people.
So this is what happens literally when we have, so it's the breakthrough is really like, I have this awakening, like weeks 1 through 4 is the awakening. Let me show you what happened, right? Week 2 is like, well, where is your power in it? How can you move away from this? How can you set a boundary? How can you resolve any resistance to what is? So that's the action part of it. And the third part of the program, we're teaching about the ascension, how we can literally ascend into higher frequencies, higher states of consciousness, and resonate with oneness, essentially, and do that more often. So when people say it just happened, nothing just happens, because you have been lining up with it. It's your request. And now that you're ebbing away from things and situations and behaviors that once kept you stuck on this subconscious roller coaster, now you're free of that. Your higher self is calling you forth, and you're hearing it, and you're taking actions in the 3D, and you're lining up with it. That's how things just happen. Right. So I think it's brilliant. Yeah, no, no,
No,
that's
every week is built upon the prior week in your program. It's very cleverly constructed, everything. I totally took it all in.
I'm so grateful. You know, when I created it, I wasn't sure it was going to work. Like,
I know, and I heard you say that it's been that you've been doing it since 2016, and I think this is probably the most successful one. I don't know whether he had more participants.
mhm.
I know that this is the one that, has added live streams on Facebook, versus you can just take it on as on demand class, some on your own.
Mhm.
But for me, this was like, this is perfect.
That's awesome.
Interaction with the other people, and we're all going through the same thing. And it's only our programming.
Yep.
It's marvelous. It's a wonderful program.
I'm so grateful. I wanted to respect, I saw there was a fracture because I experienced the mental health community myself, having been put on medication, going to various psychologists and therapists, and really not getting the help that I needed. And I thought what saved me was this idea that, wait a minute, this innate spiritual connection that we all have that is being bypassed in traditional mental health, where what if I could help people nurture this connection to the divine and help them understand that regardless of what happened in the physical world, you are still divinely connected to this infinite intelligence, and you are entitled to all the beauty that anybody else can experience that has this connection to their divine, let's say their mom or their dad. And so I wanted to work upon that and bridge this idea so people could use their intellect to understand their emotional self.
I mean, in our family, emotions and feelings and stuff, they were just shrugged right under the rug. I mean, we don't have that in our house. We don't do this. We just push forward very in a way that's just, doctrine or the way it's taught at school, but no feelings, no emotions,
And
nothing
yet,
felt like that. And or then, oh, you're an egoistic, that's an egoistic move or thought. That's not for the common good. That's not good in our family.
and what's so sad about that, Katrina, is this idea that our emotions are connected to the divine. In other words, like love is connected to the divine. And so asking children, don't feel that, don't think that, you're disconnecting them psychologically from the divine within themselves. So now this is the sense of loss of self that I have. I'm not connected to myself anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I felt very disconnected before this class, and
Yeah.
I got my connection back.
It's
And
awesome. I love that. I love that. And that's one of the reasons with my little granddaughter, I'm telling my daughter, and I'm watching, I tell my daughter and my son-in-law, she's allowed to feel anything and everything. You just observe it. You support it. You don't say you're okay after she falls. You say, are you okay?
okay.
Are you okay? Give her a moment to pause. Give her the impression that you care about how she feels. You're not telling her how she feels, which will train a child's brain to ask the self, am I okay? So we have empathy neurons for the self now, which someone like you, and this is the other thing, and someone like me, you could look at your family, perhaps, and my family from the outside and think nothing's wrong. Mom's feeding everybody, laundry's done, kids are in bed by 9 o'clock. What's the problem? But yet there could be so much internal chaos and psychological upset and so much disconnection and so much depression and so much anxiety that people cannot see.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you cannot. When you just meet a person, you don't know whether they're under which rail they're living. in which consciousness level it's sides, or actually several sides to a coin in
And
reality.
and the only perception that matters is the observer and perceiver, because it doesn't matter how my mother perceived me. The only thing that mattered to me was how I was observing how other people are observing me, because that perception, that lens, is what was responsible for my neurology, how I saw myself. My I didn't have any sense of self-worth. I thought I disgusted my mother. So how could a little girl have self-worth if she thinks her own mother sees no value in her? It's impossible. So my perception becomes sort of like the predictor of my external reality, because by from that place, I'm going to see the world, believe the world in. And so that's really important for us to recognize as individuals, that how we perceived, how others perceived us, became the lens by which we perceive the self and others.
Oh
So,
yes, yeah, that's beautifully put.
so we really have to, that's what the 12-week class is like. I want you to understand your lens. I want you to understand what affected your perception of self, because that was the predictor of your life experiences. Now that we know that's true, now we have a jumping off place. Yeah, so I wanted to create this experience where people were really waking up. Like, it wasn't me, it was just their programming, to create a jumping off place from where they could go next, which would be the masterclass. And eventually Soul School, which I'm super excited about, is teaching beyond theta, beyond mastering the law of attraction, but something I think is quite profound is nurturing our connection to oneness.
Oh, that's big. I mean, I already signed up for the master class too. I'm
Awesome.
so very excited for that.
Yeah, so and we have to, and my opinion, like it has to, in my opinion, it should be taught in stages, because for someone to jump into the master class and they haven't really understand their programming, that's going to be kind of tough, because you don't have the cognitive tools like, oh, am I in resistance right now? What could I do about that? So I think that that's foundational. So I appreciate that you love this work as much as I do. So what did you learn in the program that you did not know before?
So, what? So, I mean, I've heard this before, and I actually have a notebook that has written on it, "You are enough." But this was that's how every meditation ended, Lisa. I mean, that was big. That's really, because I was belittled. I was like, I'm not worthy of it, anything. You never will amount to anything. It's like just hearing that simple sentence, you are enough. That was, I learned that. And it's like, I need to really pound that in my head, in my brain, versus all the other noise. The 1, 2, 3 process, I like that a lot, because I am definitely having more tools in my shed for not reacting with my emotions. With I can, tame them down. It can be in any situation. It can be with anyone, family or not, friends, anyone that's kind of, really wants to push the buttons. And yeah, because of all this, I can now set boundaries and not act, somewhere under the veil of consciousness. As a codependent, I can just really set the boundaries and make a decision. And also, I don't need to control any situation, anybody, any animal or anything. I just need to just pick and move on.
I love that. Yeah, it's amazing when you start to develop like emotional regulation from within. And in psychology, we call it intrinsic motivation versus external validation. Most of us are motivated by some external thing, whether it's validation or approval but we can also be externally motivated through fear. What is my mother going to think? What is my husband going to say? What are people going to think about me? So the 1, 2, 3 process and the meditations and really hearing this idea that you really are enough. I know that you believe that you're not, and it's valid. But at a biological level, at a spiritual level, you are enough.
I believe it now. It's starting to be ingrained. It starts to infiltrate in my cells. Uh, I'm doing detoxes. I'm getting all the emotions out. Every time I do something more dramatic, it's like, okay, let go of it. But that you are enough. It's so ingraining now. It's so coming back to me. I am enough. I'm a divine child.
That's
What
right.
else do I want? That's been the whole process, where since 2020 we had all these external things going on, separating us, fear mongering, pushing us, the media, the propaganda, everything.
Yep.
I have done along that, whatever they're wanting to do there, I said stop. I have, for whatever reason, it changed. I did inner work, and the culmination point right now is this program. I'm looking forward for the master program, but I have learned so much, and that I am enough, and I don't need all these things what they're telling me out there.
Yep. So just so powerful. And
It's
I imagine a world in which people wake up. And when I think about it from like the macro level, since the beginning of time, elitists or the people in, let's say the people in power, the people in control, which usually a particular family or bloodline, it's always been fear.
yes.
So it's like when okay, so I pull myself out of that era in time and I'm now in 2023 or 2022, 2021. It's still fear.
Yes. It's they're pushing fear, and it's like I'm done. I'm done. I don't watch news. I don't do any of that. I watch YouTube video clips. Okay, once in a while I see what's happening in the world. I plan my trips, my hikes, my anything. Then I'm fully immersed in with me, and that already was giving me some substance for being me, but that I am enough. That's just, it's
Or,
gonna be.
I mean, I think about my dog and I think about animals. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but during I, I think Eckhart Tolle talked about it in his book, A New Earth, where during the tsunami in Thailand, very few animals died. And that to me was like, whoa, this profound idea that these animals are tuned up. They're tuned up. There's something divine that they are automatically, like an antenna, hooked up to that humans are not tuned up to, and their station is off. I call it ego consciousness, or the wounds of the past that are unhealed. This disconnect from the divine. We are innately programmed, hardwired to connect to the divine.
Right. Well, I would say it could be called intuition.
Correct.
Intuition, and I have had episodes in my life where my intuition was right, and I felt like, and I was with my intuition, and it will also already almost go into law of attraction of manifestation, and their intuition was to run upland. I heard about that.
Yeah.
And the tsunami, and so then no animals perished or little.
Right. Right. So this idea that we're all breathing beings, and that the ability to tap into that oneness or that information or that data or that intuition is available to all of us.
Exactly. Oh yes.
So a red flag is intuition, right? But ego consciousness or an unhealed wound or a neurological pathway associated with trauma or the hijacked limbic system that interferes with our ability to stay with an antenna to the divine. And so getting into an alpha brainwave state will help you access this divine wisdom. And then regulating tools like the 1-2-3 process, setting boundaries, honoring yourself, anchoring yourself, that settles your energy so you can continue to tap into what animals tap into normally, which is high alpha. And so
Right.
it's really amazing. So next question, what surprised you the most about the program?
Surprised me is the deep-seated programming of what we're enduring since since we're born. You know, it's it's generational trauma.
Yep.
It's that we're just barely surviving, that we're not creating a life. That's really our destination. That's what we're supposed to do.
If our connection to the divine goes awry, like I said, we're hardwired to tap into the divine. But if that goes awry, it's not our fault that we end up being neurologically and psychologically hijacked and programmed to focus on what we don't want versus what we do want.
It's that we're living, you know, in survival mode, below the veil of consciousness. We don't know that we're connected actually to divinity. This programming, it goes back, you know, it's at home.
Yep.
It happens in school.
Yep.
Happens in the society, the comparison, the competition, all this stuff. I mean, it's so deep seated. I just can't believe it. And literally, we're brainwashed in every
Absolutely.
direction, in every dimension, and that's more than 3-dimensional too.
Correct.
That's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
That's very sad, you know, and that's going on in the society, and it's just, I don't know how humans can survive like this.
We have for centuries, you know, and eons we have. And I think that programs like this, conscious, I call them conscious conversations like this. I think YouTube, I mean, I'm nobody really. I mean, I just got another YouTube award for 70 million views.
Wow.
70 million views.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's just, I do my part, right? So when I have an opportunity to talk about this, I take it. When I'm inspired, I share it. I think the most important thing that we can do, because quantum entanglement is real, and they've done experiments where, and I forgot the name of the experiment, but there was an experiment conducted by a neuroscientist, and he had 2 people in 2 different buildings. He conducted an MRI on a healer at the same time as a patient. The healer was thinking about the healing of the patient. And at the exact time the MRI changed for the healer, the MRI changed in the recipient.
Wow.
We're all connected. Healers are
Exactly.
connected to a higher frequency, and their energy is able to be transmitted towards someone who it is intended to be received. Of course, if the receiver is in receiving mode, the healing can happen quickly. So that's the idea behind the program. If I can infuse this program with healing energy, my meditations with healing energy, then the person who is in the receptive mode can receive that, which is so beautiful. And it's actually proven on MRI scans. So this idea that we're all quantumly entangled, I think, and the evidence of it, the scientific evidence for it is so profound that it gets me excited, that I know now that what I think matters. And I don't have to have 70 million views on YouTube. I can just listen to something, hear it, and send that energy out into the field, and know that people who are in receptive mode are going to receive it, because that's how the quantum world works. And I just think that that's a reason to stay in a high vibration, in my opinion.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You know, and that's how we all contribute to saving one another and helping one another. So, you know, that just inspires me, regardless of what crap is going on in the world or what crap someone else wants me to pay attention to. This is what I'm going to focus on, because that makes me feel empowered and in control. And I like that feeling. So what was the most important thing you took away from the program that you believe most applied to you?
That I am not a victim of this whole programming, of this whole 9-yard schmear of brainwashing everything, that I can live now above the veil of consciousness, that I can create my life, that my self-love actually matters.
Yep.
And I don't need to have all this validation from the outside, that I can, all my acts of self-love, from hugging me, this with somatic exercise, to do my meditation, my journaling, to become my better best friend.
Amen.
I don't need, relationships. I have cut a lot of toxic relationships out of my life in the last 3 years, and I will continue. And there, I've been more successful for setting boundaries. Now I have the tools here from this program.
Love that.
It's going to be amazing.
I love that. And the other thing that I want to say is that there's always two ends of the stick. In other words, it's like, I don't need external validation. And even when I get discredited or minimized, that doesn't matter either. So it's both ends of the spectrum. It's like, I don't need the validation. And even if someone chooses or tries to invalidate me, that's okay too. It no longer affects me. I have the ability to insulate myself from the propensity to seek validation and feel wounded when I don't get it.
Right.
And
yeah.
I can also insulate myself against invalidation. That's
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah, you can kind of set up a wall around you, where you let things penetrate that are important to you, or energies, and living at a higher vibration, but you can filter out a lot.
It's awesome.
And I don't need it,
That's beautiful. That's evidence that neurologically you're changing. And what changes us is this bond that we develop with the self, and the bond that we develop with the divine. Just like in the quantum world, where atoms are formed through different bonds and create different molecules that create different compounds. And when you separate the bonds and create a different bond, you have different compounds. And so I feel like when we change our emotional state, that is what divides these bonds and allows us to create different, if you will, spiritual molecular structures within our own psyche that allow us to create neural pathways that are more in alignment with our divinity, which is great. So what has changed in your life since taking the program?
So I am living in the flow. That is huge. I am getting actually things done. I'm kind of borderline somewhere with having chronic fatigue syndrome or adrenal fatigue. I don't get it tested yearly. Thyroid issues / Hashimoto's. I all do it with a natural protocol. I don't take medication, and sometimes my energy slumps. So just living with the flow and not reacting in a bad way to it, because that will sap away energy.
Yep.
I have no energy. I'm getting things done. I do I even before, I like to write physical notes, write it down, and then mark it off.
Love it.
And I love the meditations. I have mentioned it before. I've done the insight timer. I still have it. I will do that. I'm lifelong hooked to meditations. I never did that. I was never taught that. That should be taught in schools.
Yes.
Because of all this living in the flow, I automatically live in my vibration, my frequency is higher.
Love it.
And I have encounters where people already all of a sudden stare at me, and especially out in nature, and it's like, wow, just because they read what was written on my t-shirt.
Yes.
And it's like, it's just that different vibration.
Yeah. And you'll vibrate more with nature. It'll feel more like home, because nature vibrates at about 7.3 hertz, which an alpha state where we are vibrating, at least our brains are vibrating between 7 and 13 hertz. And so as you do this work, your brain develops a new set point.
Oh, I didn't
So
know that.
yeah. So yeah. And so your brain, the more you meditate, especially at the alpha state, you're more creative. You're more in the flow. So, and this is why anybody that comes to me that's upset, I have a niece that I'm trying to coach, and I say to her, I cannot meditate for you.
Oh,
I could,
absolutely. I've been in the habit of meditating since I subscribed to Insight Timer in 2019 after that
Mhm,
trip in November.
right.
And I got it for half off, and they're still giving it to me for half off, which is
Mhm,
awesome. And I did see your YouTube, I mean, not just YouTube, but I did see your meditations on Insight Timer too.
mhm,
And there is actually almost too much. So for me, sometimes because I have a sensitive system,
mhm.
I'm getting I'm getting bombarded with too much stuff.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I just pick and choose, and sometimes I just go back to my playlist, and that's good enough. And or I do one from the 12-week
Yep.
breakthrough coaching program, but I will never. It's just it's second nature. I will never live without meditations.
That's amazing. And if I could, you'll hear me say it a lot in my YouTube videos and my podcasts and my live streams, like meditation is free, right?
Yes.
And so, and the access to the divine is free. The divine never sleeps, doesn't go on vacation, and doesn't turn its back on you because you've done something ridiculous, right? Or silly. There's no judgment with the divine. It's always available, but you have to access it. And it takes effort. So you have to slow down the mind. And like I'm telling my niece, I tell my stepchildren, I tell my own children, I can't meditate for you. I can only ask you to try it and stick with it and see if at a minimum gets to quiet the monkey brain. And if that's enough, then that's enough. But if you stick with it, you'll experience a resetting of your nervous system. You'll experience a new brainwave set point, which will be more in an alpha state. You'll walk around more in a creative alpha state. And with the tools that we're talking about, like the 1, 2, 3 process, the journaling, as well as meditation, these tools, the not seeking validation, checking yourself, like, oh, I'm not seeking her validation and she invalidated me, and that's okay too, right? These types of tools allow you to emotionally regulate, which allow you to stay in a higher frequency, which is just beautiful. And that benefits everybody, everybody. Um, what do you think people should know about the program?
Well, it takes some time, on a daily basis, about an hour. I would say also they need to, know that or wanting to know more about themselves. Not that they're a better person, but yeah, it's for a lot of people who struggle. And some people do not click or realize that such a program can be I mean, it's for me, it's life changing. I can hear what you're saying, telling me that, certain things are happening in my life. I've done the meditations. I'm at a different vibration. My monkey mind has definitely quieted down. That chatter is gone.
Awesome.
So
Oh, that's so great.
some people, yeah, it needs to they need to be at a point where do they want to wake up
Yes.
or not, and do they want to put in all the efforts to make their lives livable for them instead of just being in survival mode? Do they want to actually improve it, create their life?
Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to take, like you said, just, from a practical standpoint, you're going to need about an hour a day, right?
Yeah.
from a practical standpoint, it's best to be in a quiet place and there's homework involved, but it's homework that's designed to awaken your consciousness.
Oh, it's beautifully designed, the whole program.
Thank you.
Throughout, any part of it.
Thank you. It's really the goal was to awaken the brain, because I really do believe neurology is involved. Like trauma is neurology and therefore my psychology. And that's not my fault when I factor in the fact that most of us are subconscious and don't know it. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck. This is why. And until we address the neurological aspect of it and understand the emotions that dictate neurology and how it creates our programming, then people really don't even have an incentive to change. But when it's broken down into a very simple way of understanding it, then it's like bite size. Oh, I can do that. All I have to do is listen to the meditation. That's it. Watch the video, listen to the meditation, do a little bit of the homework each day. But now that's it. The next day, do the same thing, just these incremental shifts. And it happens by default, because eventually what I created this and designed this program based on the pleasure principle, where if I could help people associate by default, if I could help them associate pain with disowning the self, their brain would flip. And their brain by default would begin to associate pleasure, which would create intrinsic motivation for honoring the self. And the rest would be easy. But it's just getting that message over to people in a way that they can hear it and then practice it. And then it becomes proof in their life, which is happening to you. So is there anything you'd like to say to your classmates, the moderators, or to me?
Oh, I like to thank you, all of them. All of you, all of them. I didn't get to know all my classmates, but that's okay. We were a great group. I did like the Facebook streams.
Yeah.
Mostly the comments we were just spontaneously throwing out. The moderators, they were actually validating us.
Yes.
And, for some of us, that was maybe their first time in our lives.
Correct.
And who knows how old some of these participants are. I mean, it took me 6 decades to actually, join and work through a program like this and get a validation pretty much instantly.
Yes.
That was huge.
Yes.
And it was professional and valid and not just talk. And yeah, this program, Lisa, you are a human angel. You're setting this program up. It comes from your inner side, from the inside. You lived and worked through this. And every program, every year gets better. And it's saving one life at a time. And it's part of the awakening that's happening outside in the world.
I really appreciate that.
This is fantastic. And a lot more people should know about it. But, I know not many will do this program. So
but we do what we can do.
Well, exactly. And there's other teachers out there, that do similar programs. And so this one resonated with me, but it may not resonate with somebody else. They may like Eckhart Tolle or Gabor Mate or whichever, or Joe Dispenza. This one resonated with me, and I'm thankful for it.
And I'm thankful for you, because we're all doing our part.
Right.
Just by healing ourselves, by just coming home to the self, like, how can I heal the self? That's it. You didn't break you, and you're not even broken. It's just your programming.
Exactly.
And
yes.
If we can help awaken you, because this idea of awakening is super important. Like, I talk to people every day. I just had a phone call with my brother prior to talking to you, and I'm like, no matter how many conversations I have with him, he's not awakened. And he thinks he is, but based on his behavior, he's not. And so like you said, I totally resonate with what you're saying. You have to be at a point in your life where you're like, there's something within me that has to change.
Right.
Something
And
within
I
me that,
felt stuck. I felt stuck.
yeah,
And it's like I I need this breakthrough.
yeah,
And I and it's my programming.
yep, yep. Well, I
It's
can't
not
thank you
me.
enough. I'm so sorry. You were going to say something?
No, no. I need to drink some more water.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that you're part of this great awakening, that my work resonated with you. And and like I said earlier, how I started the interview off, it is difficult to explain what the class is. So that's why I like to have these conversations with people who have participated, because they are the ones who best explain it. Like, this is what happened to me. This was my childhood. Then I married this person and I was stuck. And this information resonated with me. And this is what I took out of the program. And so now, if someone watching this resonates with your story, then that is what helps people understand the value of the course, and also gives them an insight into what to expect, which I think is invaluable. So I want to thank you for your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for sticking with me and saving one soul at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have any restrictions to how we can share this interview?
Uh, no, no. I mean, I mentioned it. I toned down my decor and my wall. I don't have that much
Right.
stuff up. I
Right.
I have a big well, it's something from France, from Paris. It has poppies on, and that's
Oh,
what's usually my Zoom calls. And
right.
so, because you can stream it anywhere, you just cut out the junk, or me sipping on my cup.
Right. Yeah, I'll have a video editor take care of that. I just wanted to make sure you were okay with me using it on YouTube or clips of it on Instagram. Um, I just want to make sure, definitely in our Facebook group, I want people in the 12-week breakthrough graduates page to know you, to see you. Um,
Right,
it also inspires the people who took the class like 6 years ago to like get back into the class, or to maybe even take the class live again, or to just refresh, just refresh.
right. Yeah,
So,
no refreshers are good. And so,
yeah,
and people fall off the wagon,
yeah,
and or something uh, and during their life gets thrown at them, and they just cannot get out of that reactive mode, and
yep,
are going down the road with, oh, I'm stuck
yep,
you
yep.
And for some people this comes easy, like me, but for some not, so
Yeah, that's okay. And that's still, we all, like I said, we can only
no,
do what we
no,
can do.
you can, there's no restrictions,
No. Well,
whatever helps the society or anyone. I'm gonna like wanna watch it then, see what it's like when you have it,
sure.
cut it off the junk and stuff, and
There's no junk here, mama. There's no junk here. Just We'll just try to cut out the spaces so that it flows, in a fluid fashion, but there's no junk here. You're beautiful. Your energy is palpable. I can see your radiance. I can sense your peace of calm. And that's beautiful, because you become an anchor for, who knows, maybe future generations that come here. Because how else I just have this weird feeling, it's just a sense that I have, that as we transform our energy, we become this sort of like grounding wires for future souls
right.
that
Yeah,
incarnate at our new energy. And I think this is how, I can't prove it, but I think this is how we push the evolution of humanity forward, is by we push our consciousness forward. And so now
yeah,
we're resonating.
we gotta start, vibrating, and go into several more dimensions than just the 3D. And
Correct.
also,
Yep.
uh,
Correct.
I always wanted to stop the generational trauma, not just my own childhood trauma, but I know my mom had it. It comes from her parents,
Yep.
etc. It goes back, and it goes back actually on both my parents' sides.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stop it once for all and just literally cut it. and actually also start acting with this higher vibration towards my children, towards any of my friends,
Yep.
new relationships that I build. So
In the quantum world, is called quantum tunneling. So it's not sci-fi. It's not pie in the sky. It's real. In other words, like when we branch off from our generational trauma, we come off that wheel of cause and effect, and we start literally creating. It's like a wormhole into other dimensions for a different path for others to follow. And that is done through the deliberate consciousness. That's done through awareness. It's the only way it can be done.
right.
And so you're actually doing that, which is a beautiful thing. I just want you to rest assured of that.
Yeah, no, I know I started that. I went to an event last year and I mentioned that, and everyone's like, that's so beautiful. I don't have grandchildren like you do have a granddaughter, but despite of that, any child born, is a divine soul and can be considered the grandchild or something. And that's the future generation, and they are the ones that you know, need to be lifted up already in
That's
this
right.
in this different dimension and
Yeah.
vibration.
Well, you're a part of that. And I want to say thank you so much for allowing me and my team to be a part of your journey and your path. So thank you again.
Well, thank you so much for almost for putting up with me.
Not at
But
all.
I'm so happy to be here and finally found finally found a way of getting unstuck.
Yeah. Well,
That's
thank you so much, dear one. Thank you so much. You have a great Saturday.
okay. You too. Thank you,
Bye
Lisa.
now. Bye
Bye
now.
bye.
Bye.